It's story time with your boy, thatblackcamper. Let's do this, baby. What is up, my man? You know it's your boy, thatblackcamper, on the mic. I'm bringing you story time with your boy, thatblackcamper, brand, whatever you basically want to call me. So I'm basically going to just tell you a little bit backstory, or a little bit of story about what I used to do in the past, or something I look back on now and I think is hella funny. But at that time, you know, that was like just stupid. Anyway, so what happened is, I remember, guys, when I was younger, give or take 4 years ago. I wouldn't really say I was younger, but I remember when I was in like my teen years, 17 years plus. I'm like 21 now. I remember I got my first ever job. My job basically was working for the city. Now, working for the city is basically a job where it's kind of like a park ranger, sort of, but you will go around and weed eat graveyards, pick up trash, do stuff along those lines. It's basically like community work, but yet you got paid a good amount of money. I mean, it was the best job you had basically where I was living at, and it was a decent job. I look back at it now, but at that time, but you had to work in the sun 24/7, 90-degree weather, sweating your balls off, and etc. Well, at that particular time, you know, I was doing something we refer to as weed eating in the cemetery, and I wasn't working with the best group of people, but I was doing it nonetheless because I needed the money helped, and etc. Because money makes the world go around, apparently, to everyone else's mindset, and I love money. Take that, Powerpuff Girls, and that 1990 stuff. Love, love, love goes around. Anyway, basically, back to this. So, I was hearing rumors constantly about this guy named Fred. For namesake purposes, I'm going to change the name to Fred. If I slip up the name and say the person's name out, I will beep it. So if you hear a beep, just know that I effed up that whole scenario there. Anyway, I always hear things about Fred. Oh, have you worked with Fred yet? You worked with Fred yet? Have you worked with Fred? I was like, I don't know who the Fruit Loop Fred is. And no. And also, Fred is actually a term we used to use at that place. If you didn't know no one's name, just refer to him as Fred. That way, you didn't sound disrespectful, like, you know, like you're too good to remember people's names. And also, that was a good way. Basically just, you know, and when you said Fred, people knew who you referred to as. But anyway, I was working with good old Fred. Anyway, I came back off vacation and I was working with Fred. My female boss at the time told me to watch out for Fred. Now keep in mind here, Fred is a 37-year-old man. At the time, I'm 17. Fred's got 20 plus years on me. You don't think Fred can do better than me is drive, but Fred is lazy as all get out, right? So, but anyway, she told me to work with Fred. Our job was simple. Basically, to go around and spray certain areas around the city. Simple job. You had a big-ass water hose. Now, you basically had to wash the water hose and keep it from getting untangled. But, you know, a simple job like that will not be simple as coming to Fred. So, we would drive the place to place. But before we did that, though, we had to fill up this big-ass tank. Like this huge tank. That's what she said. You had to go ahead and measure the exact chemicals, had to get the water right, you had to do all this pressure and stuff like that, right? And at that time, I ain't never been really that high in the school. Like, I graduated, that makes anybody feel better, but I've never just been like that guy that like loved school. So I didn't pay attention to measuring and stuff like that. I know when you say fill it up to insert number here, to fill it up that way. So I basically, he would ask me questions like, how much do I need to put in there? And I'm like, you know, it's my first time doing this, how would I freaking know? Anyway, I just told him to make an estimate guess and figure out how much he needs to put in there. So, you know, instead of just basically looking at the counter like everyone else would do, he basically just took it upon himself to get something that's the exact measuring density as, basically in a nutshell, to be on the safe side, he basically would he went to the store, got a Gatorade bottle. I shit you not, got a Gatorade bottle, and instead of just looking at the exact measurements of which our female boss has told us to, he'll basically just take the bottle and pour the stuff in there and then put it in the cooler. I mean, pull it in the big ass water container we had in the back of the truck. My whole thing on that, well, no, that's a complete story for another day. Of course, you know, he complained. I had to get up there and I had to put the water in there. I didn't say nothing. That wasn't that big of a deal, even though he was supposed to do that. I was not supposed to be near the chemicals. My job was basically to watch out 37-year-old man don't hurt himself. Anyway, we did that, right? And we got to our destination where it's supposed to be spraying at. It was across the street, easy to get to, nothing to mess up. I basically, even though technically speaking I was a supervisor, feeling like it kind of felt like I was. I'm watching a 37-year-old man spray grass, but I listened to what he said. He told me to get in the back of the truck, make sure the water hose don't get tangled up. Easy job, a caveman could do it. But we're talking about Fred here. Fred is really slow, you know, and I'm slow. So you got two slow people working together. Let's see how that works out. So anyway, I'm sitting there, man. I'm just waiting in the truck. I can't do anything. You know, what can I do? So I sit there. and I just wait outside the truck, making sure he don't get things tangled. And of course, he's pulling the water hose, yanking the water hose, as if he ain't getting enough push from the water hose. When I can expect he could really just go back there and pull the truck up, but that's just too easy. So he sits there pulling the water hose. There's a certain way you're supposed to bring out the water hose. He's getting this shit tangled up like a mother smurfer, right? And Fred's the type of guy that when some stuff goes down, he refuses to say it's his fault. He'll say it's yours. He basically tries to one up on you on the slide. So I'm sitting there just waiting there, and I'm just looking at him because I'm like, how long is it gonna take this dude to fucking realize that he got this shit like tangled up himself? He comes back in there and looks at me and says, "You got it all tangled up, meat man." If you want to know, meat man. You want to know, they call me meat man at the job I used to work at. If you want to basically know backstory between that, hit that like button. That'll be a blessing. That'll motivate me to tell a story of meat man. But anyway, he sit back there and he was like, "Meat man, we you got it all tangled." And I looked at him for a second. I was like, "Fred," I'm like, "Real talk, bro. You done pulled this." I'm country. I'm sorry, but that's why I said at the time. You done pulled the fucking water hose. You got this shit tangled, not me, bro. Nah, Fred. No, you got tangled, Mr. Meat Man. I didn't do anything. I was like, you been pulling and yanking this thing like a damn horse. And keep in mind here, the dude really wants me to ride horses. No homo. Anyway, but he wants everybody in the base squad work there to ride horses. Anyway, Fred got the water hose tangled up, right? I had to sit there for like a good 10 minutes. This is a big ass water hose, okay? This ain't just like your normal, you go outside and you put up water hose. I sat there, had to get that thing tangled up for him because of course he was too good to do it. Apparently, we got that thing untangled. We're across the street, and he's telling me, we got so many areas we need to get done, and me messing up ain't gonna cut it. And I looked at him, I was like, first and foremost, I ain't the one pulling the water hose. Secondly, I got it untangled the way it needs to be. But I didn't want to get smart with this guy because I didn't know where his head was. I didn't know. I was at that age though, to the point to where I didn't want to start any confrontation. Like, I didn't want to hit nobody. I didn't want to do anything, right? So I would just sit there and I kept my mouth shut. I didn't say anything. So I was like, no drama. Don't start drama. Won't be no drama. So anyway, we pulling the freaking water hose. We're trying to get it untangled. Taking freaking years just to get that shit done. We get it undone. And of course we go back to the shop. He ends up blaming it on me. Now, of course, my female coworker looks at me for a second and she shook her head like, because she knows the mentality of how Fred works. So I'm just sitting there and I'm just like, I talked to her next day. I said, "Do you really think I got that water hose tangled up?" Because at that time I've been there for like a year or two. I kind of knew how things went down a little bit over there. But she's like, "No, I know you didn't. Fred probably got it tangled up and just couldn't admit it." I was like, okay, she knew. So I take it like this. Like, looking back at that story now, it's hilarious because I'm not the type of person that if a lesson comes in my face, I'm not gonna be like, normal people probably be like, "Well, fuck that dude." No. You don't. At that time, I could not stand that guy, and I got more stories to tell if you ever want to know about Fred. But looking back at that situation now, the reason why I didn't like him was because he was slow. Little did I know how slow I was. It was a life lesson to be learned. And that's basically it for this whole thing. God bless, peace.